So these are the files I already talked. I introduced the brand, told about the headquarters from China and USA, the production center. I told that I don't have pictures of the factory that is like 100 kilometers from the office, the main office in Shanghai, and some pictures of the Shanghai office, the main office, the administrative one. So this file I already shared with you too. So if you look in the chat box, go a little up, you will see this CPC there. So you can check it there too. But now I am telling and sharing the pictures. It wasn't shared before. So let's start with one thing that I told it's very important, especially for the sales team. It's the algorithm. What is algorithm? This is like the core, the processor, the processor logical of the system. It's where we do the programming to convert biometrical technologies to binary technologies and to translate this information for the device. And we can do the recognition and all the steps we used to do. So this is a technology that was developed from our company. No, any other company has this. This is very secure and it's I don't know how to say, but it's exclusive for us and nobody can reach it because we have uh, some some rules. It's like a hour. I am not being able to exactly say the word, but it's no one, no any company can get it from us, and it's important to tell the customers that since it's exclusive from us, it cannot be opened and cannot be modified. Some other companies in the market has this kind of algorithm open source. This is not very good in our opinion because people can modify it to do good things, but also can modify it to do bad things, to clone fingerprints, to make it to access a place that they don't have the access. So having this feature not open, it's good that avoid this kind of thing. So this improves in the safety. We have open source for the software, for other kind of things, but for the algorithm where the things are converted from human biometrics to technology, it's restricted for us. So this is important to tell the sales team and the customers that we care about the safety of our technology and our products. Well, some places we have this is not 100% refresh is not as it is today, but some of offices is still there, some of offices not, some of offices were added here. So we can share that we have more than 10 years now, or maybe 18 years of market. We have distribution in more than 100 countries. Uh, maybe more now because, as I told, this is not 100% upgraded, and some of our certifications around the world. So we have American certifications, European certifications. If you need any exclusive certification from maybe one or another device, please, you can check in the website. And if you don't find it, you can always count with our support to provide you these files. Some customers around the world, of course, they are not directly customers, are always with a local distributor supporting us and supporting the customer. So we used to provide the training correctly to our distributors, and then we do the following chain of the market providing to the end user. So this is a small, brief, and small introduction of our company. If you have any questions, any comments, please let me know. Otherwise, we can pass to the other. Follow the chronogram. Give just 5 seconds. I have a very urgent call to get. 10 seconds. I'm very sorry. I'll be back very soon.
Hi everybody. I hope you will hear Leonardo loud and clear. Remember to add some questions via chat. We are recording the presentation and an AV file will be updated and uploaded to the chat as long as we finish the training, okay? We will edit and we will upload it to our YouTube channel, okay, to let customers or the rest of the colleagues to attend this training offline. Thanks, everybody.
Hi, Ismael. Can you hear me? I'm back.
Perfectly, my friend.
Okay.
Loud and clear.
I'm sorry for the inconvenience. So let's follow like the train. So this is our product and solutions brochure. I guess Ismael have already shared this file before in the chat. So if you look for it more in the past messages, you see it. We don't need to focus on everything here, but it's very interesting to have this file at a very easy place to find because we have some introduction of the brand too. We have something about intelligent security, some softwares. We also provide. We can talk about them later. I'm not the specialized one to tell about all the softwares, but I have some experience with most of them. We can talk about it later. We are going to focus on the cross-check standard. Is the software that we use, like 95% of the projects is the software that we provide. We talk a bit about it, but since we are going to see it, we'll talk too much now, but we can do it in practical later. And some of our products. We have a focus in this training to talk about the M5 and the TC580, if I'm not wrong. But here we have a general of all the products we have and the coming soon products that will be released in the next few months. Some of them are already ready to be commercialized. So for Nexus Control, I can tell you that these are the main solutions. I don't know exactly how is the European market, but Latin American market likes very much the M5, the P7, C2 Pro is very nice here too. VF30, now we have VF30 Pro, that is a Linux version. It's like a conversion from the internal OS that we have, the operational system, to Linux, so it will work more or less like C2 Pro, but more focused on access control. Can be a good solution too. FixPass 7, a new product, it's very recent, but we did some tests with some customers and they are enjoying very much this product. The TC5800, that's the one we are going to use. Don't show message again, sorry. And maybe more in the end of the presentation, we have more about the other software, some video solutions too. This is not the focus of this training right now, but you can check, and if you have any questions, you can talk directly with the sales support of your team, of your company, okay? Any questions? Oh, M3, I guess it's by default MyFair. It cannot work together with these two frequencies. Or is one frequency or is the other. By default, I guess it's MyFair. I'm not sure right now, but the samples I have here, they work with MyFair. But if you need with 125 kilohertz, you can order it before buy. You can just tell to Anviz I need with EM module, that is 125, and then they just change the RFID module and provide you with the frequency you want.
Leonardo, my friend, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, it seems there's a mistake, maybe in the website, maybe in our website, or maybe in our competitor's website, because for some reason customers used to order this device thinking that the two technologies are embedded. That's why my colleague wanted to confirm with you.
I'm checking in the chat box. So,
yeah.
you tested with the two frequencies and it worked. That's
Yeah.
why you're telling the chat.
Yeah.
Oh, so maybe this is a new feature. This is something sometimes are not very well synchronized. It happens in some companies, and then this is used to happen with not the frequency as I wanted, because sometimes they just release new technology and they upgrade the information later. So at least at this time, this is a good thing. This is something that provides more than tells less, if you know what I mean. So I would just make these notes here to check with company later about the M3, because this is new for me too. The ones I have here just work with a frequency or the other.
Yeah,
So
we
just
need
make some notes.
an official confirmation, okay? And also, if there's a way to identify easily old and new M3 devices, to be
All
sure
right.
that we deliver the newest one with both technologies if finally it is possible, and how to identify old models to avoid problems with the customers that they expect both technologies and only one is possible. Okay,
Perfect. I would just
thanks.
talk with them after this training. I will report an email, and maybe I can copy you there to keep upgraded with the following answers. Uh, one thing I used to check before sending the product to the customers is to see in the box. In the box of the product, have some small squares checking with the check with the X or a mark which frequency is the product. At least with the F30, T5 Pro, P7, the most sold devices here in Latin America, where you can choose the frequency of the RFID function. There is a mark in the box telling which frequency is that product. So maybe you could check later in the devices you have. So in the box of the device, there is this mark, if it's marked correctly, you know. So for the specific device, I think this can work. But of course, I will check with them later to see how to identify devices that have one frequency or the other or both. I guess by the serial number we can make it, but I will confirm with them and tell you the answer later and copy you at the message to keep synchronized, okay? All right?
Perfect. Yeah, you can continue. Thanks.
Okay. So this is the catalog I have from M3. Look at the moment this catalog were produced, it's like January from this year. So this is the one that is available on the website. So just what we just talked now. I guess in this one we don't have the here it's my fair and EM, but as I told you, we need to check. At this time, say it's optional. So yeah, I will check it later and let you know. So just taking these issues at the side and focusing on the others. This is a very good product for access control. Can be used as a time attendance, but it's not suggested because it doesn't work really well as the other devices that have more functions to do. So we can focus this device to access control. It's IP65 waterproof device, so you can install it directly on the environment with rain, with sun, with wind. It has a self-protection that makes the device ready to be there with any extra protection. So it has TCP/IP communication, so you can just plug an Ethernet cable in a plug that goes with the device. So you cannot just connect directly in the device because you need to use the cables to connect to an adapter and the adapter with the Ethernet cable. It's very simple. It's already included in the box of the device, so there is no much problem with this. Very easy to make it. What I suggest you guys to make it, to configure this device, is to connect through USB first. So at the first moment, you connect the device with the USB, and with the USB communication, you can configure all the functions you need to make the device work fine. So then you can set the IP, set the Ethernet address, and then start talking with a TCP/IP protocol. It's a device that combines RFID with password. It's a touch screen device, so as standby, it stays all black. The numbers are hidden, but when you pass the hand through it, the display just tells you the information of the numbers, and you can touch the number you want, or just pass the card in the correct frequency. So it's up to 2,000 users, 5,000 log capacity. What is log capacity? Every time a user passes the card or put a password, the device recognizes who the person is, which time and which technology the person uses, and store a record. The device can store in itself 50,000 records. And then you can download it to your software and start to record more. When the device records everything, so the memory is totally full, you can configure to replace the old one from the new one, or just stop recording for you to get the download of all these records and then clear the memory to start recording again. It can combine password and card, or can use one or the other. It has Wigan output. This is interesting to connect to other controllers. You can use our own controller, the SC011, or you can use controllers that are from other market companies. Working in Wigan and in the same protocol, it will have a good communication. We have as default Wigan 26, and some devices have Wigan 34 too. These are the main protocols in the market to work with access control Wigan protocol. Door contact sensor, alarm output, tamper alarm. So these are kind of features you most of the time use in access control. If you have questions, which are these functions, you can ask me. I can tell detailed which function works for what. So this we reached the question we already talked, so we can discuss it later. It's a 12-volt device, so all the access control devices we suggest to use 12 volts, otherwise it won't work well. No more than this, no less. And some applications. So as I told you, here we can see the system installed with a SC011. This is an anti-vandalic system. This is interesting. If you want to put the device directly at the street, especially here in Latin America, we need to do like this, because if we use the relay of the device directly. For example, in this second picture, if the installer don't make a protection on it, if someone with bad intentions just cut the cables, just throw the device from the wall, it can open the door and fail the safety of the system. So for the first device at the street contact, the first device between the public area and the particular area, we suggest don't use the relay of the device directly. Use a kind of access control, access controller. So at this example, at the first picture, devices works through Wigan with the controller, and the controller with the lock inside the building. So if someone cut the cables, someone steal the device, the door will still close because the controller didn't receive the Wigan information correctly. Okay. Here are some examples of control systems with the software. Here there is an example of the cross-check light. It's a compact version of cross-check standard. Maybe this is my opinion, but I can also tell to you guys, I suggest to use cross-check standard because it's not so difficult to use and have some more functions that might be important depending on the customer. But this is a compact version. If customers don't want too many things, just want to connect devices, download records, manage some users, this can work too. And I guess for this device, that's the main information we can talk about now. But if you still have questions, if you still have comments, please let me know before we proceed to the next device. Okay, I guess that's no questions. Let's follow. The next device is the T5 Pro. This is a very, very nice device too. Here we used to call this device as the most, the best cost-benefit product for access control. It tells a lot here in Latin America because people here are very focused at the price of the device. They want a good device, but they prefer to pay less. The economy here nowadays is not so good as it was before, but let's see if it will change now. But just to inform you, this is the one to suggest for this kind of customers that want a good, safe solution that it's not only with card and password, there is a level of safety better, that is the fingerprint recognition, and the price is accessible. It's cheaper than other products from our company and from also other companies too, and has the credit of being an Anviz device, which ensures the safety more than other not safer companies in the market. So just to make a brief of this device, it combines fingerprint recognition with RFID card. It can be or one or another. These, until now, I have shared that cannot be both. Maybe the new device can be with both frequencies, but I don't think it's the case. As default, it comes with EM. There is 125 kilohertz, but you can replace it by a MyFair module and use the 13.56 megahertz to other kind of frequencies for cards. So the memory as default is 1,000 fingerprints. I guess now we already have with more memory, but we need to check from model to model. Maybe the ones you have in stock are for 1,000, but the next order can come with 2,000. But in case of questions, just let us know too the serial number of the device. We can check this information. I can help you with this. And one thing very important is that the memory of user is based on the fingerprint template. This is very important to quote a project. For example, for this device, we can store 2 fingerprints per user. So we can use 2 fingerprints for the same user. And let's imagine that the total memory is 1,000 users. But if we use 2 fingerprints for the same user, for all the users, we are going to have a maximum of 500 users, okay? We need to make this math before selling the product to the customer, because sometimes the customer have, for example, 600 users, but he needs to enroll 2 fingerprints for all the users. So this wouldn't be the recommended device for this project. So this works for all Anviz products. It's not only for T5 Pro. All the logical of fingerprint devices, the ones time attendance or access control that has fingerprint recognition, the memory is based on this information I just told you. This is a device more focused on access control, can be used as time attendance, can be. I heard that some countries in Europe cannot use fingerprint as time attendance, so this is more a local information you can check better than me, but for the countries that allows fingerprint time attendance can be combined, a T5 Pro in the enter and a T5 Pro in the living. We can talk about this later, but it's possible, but not so recommended. If for example, if a customer already have a T5 Pro and wants to do the time attendance, just need to put a T5 Pro on the other side and we can do it. But as I told, we can talk about it later. Question?
Yeah, normally for time attendance we need an LCD display with the time. Then the laws allows time attendance. If not, it's better to use another device.
Okay, thank you. So
You're
as the
welcome.
local market says, let's just use this as access control. All right. So let's keep. I heard here that someone told that T5 Pro MIFARE in catalog. Well, I don't know which version of catalog you have, but this one that I got from Anviz is from May of 2018, so it's kind of recent. Inform us that it's optional MIFARE card. I don't know if the ones you bought with MIFARE optional module. So if it is
Yeah,
with
we are ordering the MIFARE version instead of EM.
Okay.
That's why I put it in the chat.
Okay. So the catalog you put in the chat already is modified for MIFARE. All right. So by DEMES, buy this with the MIFARE optional module. That's why the catalog you guys have, there is this information. This is the original one I got from Anviz website. But this is a good point. We can choose between one or the other. Let's see which more we have. The log capacity is the same as M3, so 50,000 records can be recorded directly in the device. Their device also contains a relay to connect directly with the lock. We don't need an extra controller. We can put just directly and make the access control. Of course, if there is a safer level we need to reach, I also suggest the controller, but if this is not the case, we can use directly as a standalone device. There is TCP/IP communication too. We can connect the Ethernet cable in the adapter that comes with the box and start communicating the device. Since it's a device there is not any display, I suggest first to communicate by USB and then make the configuration and start communication with the TCP/IP. We can set the IP by there. I will show in the software later how to make it. There is WIGAN output too for this kind of controllers communication to make an anti-vandalic system. USB communication, this makes things easier to connect because it's a USB host. I guess it's a mini USB host in the down part of the device. Some people think this is not safe. Everyone can just connect the cable there and start changing information with the device, open the doors with no authorization. But we have a configuration. We need to make it to release the access, release the communication between USB. This is very important. And also a question that I replies a lot in technical support, that is, the customer buys the device and wants to communicate by USB and he just can't. He just put the USB cable on the device and the device just don't communicate with the software. Why not? Every time we connect the device by USB, we need to use the enroll card to authorize USB communication. This is a safety process, just exactly to avoid someone just putting the USB cable there and start communicating. Or in other words, just the administrator of the device will be able to communicate by USB with the enroll card. When you buy the device, you open the box, you see a couple of cards, the enroll card and the delete card, that they are used to enroll and delete users in the stand-alone way, and also to authorize USB communications. So this is a very important information. In the quick guide of the product, we have this information too. I will share with you guys this quick guide later, and you can also download this in our website. What else? RS485 communication, the serial 485 communication. It's important to communicate with our slave device, the T5S. It's a kind of an extension of the master. So you can put the slave in the other side of the door to control both sides. And to make it, we use this communication, the serial 485. It's very easy to use and sometimes can be a very convenient system to control both sides of the door with no need to use a button to leave the controlled area. What else? I guess most of the information we already discussed. Some topologies of how the device would work after installed. So we can check here the standalone module. Deleting this part, of course, the standalone would be just the middle of the picture. The device, the lock, the button on the other side that could be replaced by a blade device if we want, the door sensor, and communicating with the software. We can use the cross-check standard to make it. And the anti-vandalic system with the controller, the same one we talked with the M3. So I guess that's it for this device. If you have any questions, please let me know. The card is unique for each device. Not exactly, Dennis. If you lose the card, for example, the enroll and delete card, the old administrator from that system was fired. He's not working there anymore. Nobody knows which one has the card. You can just add new cards. When you open the device, there is a small button there, a push button, that if you keep it pressed, you will just delete the current cards, and you can enroll both cards again. For the new cards, we just suggest that they don't have any user enrolled at the card that will be the new administrative card, because if there is any user in that device, the configuration will not work. The device will just show the red LED informing that there is already a user with that card. So if you lost the card, or for example you have more than one device in the same system and you want to control all the system with the same pair of administrative cards, you can just make this procedure for all the devices and work the same cards for all of them. Any more questions? You can follow. Oh, here I have a video to show the USB communication for the T5 Pro. I put it here. Let me just put, so this is a video I made to customers at my YouTube channel. I can share with you guys later. And from time to time I used to put some new information there, some new training, some new features. I will pass the link of this channel later to you guys. Hard to start. Yeah, that's it as well. Thank you to just putting in text this information I just talked. I will share with you guys the quick guides from the devices we already talked, so it will be easier for you to take it, but of course you can always check on our website and download it at any time. Let's skip. So this is the video I told you guys that how to authorize USB communication. Enroll card. So you can hear that after I just put the enroll card, the device beeps 3 times in a different way. It shows that the device was authorized successfully to the communication by USB. Look again. This is the sound that tells me the device is okay to communicate by USB. And after it, we can communicate with the software and make set the IP communication, download users, download records, upload users, make access rules, and all the kind of things we need to do for that device. So the download is almost done. I guess because of the video calling, it's It's lower than the normal, but let's follow. If there is no questions, we can keep it. And now talk about the TC5800. This is a very interesting device too. One of the newer devices focuses on time attendance and also access control. We can combine these functions for this device. So it's a device that we can use fingerprint recognition, password by the keypad, and also RFID function. We can use the three if we want, combine them, or just two of them if necessary. It's a very complete device, one of the most complete devices we have by now. We can communicate by Wi-Fi, just access the menu of the device, configure, set the Wi-Fi network, and put the password. One thing that we just need to take care is to put the password in text, using letters. It's like the old cell phones we have. We need to press the number, and after pressing the number, press again to set the letter correctly. So this is not so convenient, but maybe we need to do it just one time and no more. So we can make it one time, and after connected, we won't have any more problems. PoE, this is very interesting too to the installer. It's power over Ethernet. With Ethernet cable, we can communicate device and provide the power source for it, provide the 12 volts that the device uses to communicate the electricity the device needs to work. Of course, in the other side of the network, we need a PoE system, a PoE switch or injector to provide this to the device. I don't suggest to use 12 volts by the common source and the PoE together. The device has a protection that if he receives both voltage from both sides, he will just cut the first one to avoid damage the circuit. But I suggest to talk with the installer to avoid this kind of project with a 12 volts backup. For example, if the PoE doesn't work, it needs to be set correctly to avoid both voltages together in the device, because even if the device has this kind of protection, sometimes it might not work as we want. So it's just a precaution, just to prevent accidents with the device. The device has a web server too. This is interesting because when it's connected by TCP/IP, I can just put the local IP in the browser, a Google Chrome or a Safari, and access the main information of the device. It's not so unlimited as other softwares like Crosscheck Standard, but we can see most of features of the device, how many users, how many records, make some small configuration, maybe to check if the device is okay or not, to see who is there, who is not. It's a local system, but if I configure the DDNS, a dynamic system by the TCP/IP, I can also check it through internet. But if I need to use internet, maybe the cloud solution would be a good suggestion for us. I can talk about it later too. So we are going to have a lot of information to tell today. I hope that we can record correctly the video so you can check it, consult it later with more time to the brain to absorb this information. Too much information at the same time. We know how the brain of a human being works. But let's continue. We have a capacity maximum 10,000 users to this device, so we just need to review that this is a 10,000 users with one fingerprint for each user. In this device, I can record 10 fingerprints for all the users, each user I mean. So I have the option to record 2 fingerprints per user, 3 fingerprints per user. This user I can put just 1 fingerprint, the next user I can put 2 if he has some problems with the recognition. So I just need to have in mind that the memory is based on fingerprint templates. If I don't know exactly how many users, how many fingerprint templates I have in the device, I can just consult its menu, accessing by the keypad the menu of the device in options, there will be a part there that I can check how many fingerprints I already have, or by the software I can see this information too and make have a feedback of the device of how many fingerprints I can still register in this device. There is a max log of 200,000 capacity. So for each access, for each punch of the time attendance, I record one log, one event, one register, and I can record until 200,000 in the own memory of the device. Of course, I can download this information to my software and release open space to new log, to new events for this device. It's a very powerful device with a dual core processor that 1 gigahertz as frequency for let's say a simple access controller time attendance. It's a very good and powerful solution. It works very fast. The comparison is very quick, even with the full memory. The device used to work in a very good velocity, very good speed, that it don't bother the customer. The customer don't have to put a finger, stay there waiting 2, 3, 4 seconds to be authorized, and this can make a line of users if the device don't respond well. This is not the case. There is a relay directly in the device. We can connect the device directly with a magnetic lock, electric lock to make the access control. We can also use the WIGAN communication. I guess this device has WIGAN too. Okay, here, WIGAN, to make the communication with controllers, SC011, or another controller in the market, to make an anti-vandalic system, or if I have a software of another brand that already manage my system, I just put this device as a reader and make all the management by the third-party software. It has WIGAN input too. This is interesting. So, for example, put a RFID reader in the other side. It's very used here. I put a RFID reader in maybe in the enter or in the leaving part, and through WIGAN communication, this third-part RFID reader has WIGAN output. I connect this in the WIGAN input of my TC5800, and they can work together. USB host, so I can download the records directly with a pen drive, a USB memory connecting in the device. I use this to upgrade firmware too, so it's very convenient for some users that cannot develop a structure, a cable to the network switch to the device, or the Wi-Fi doesn't work nice in the area that the device will be installed, and I need to change information from time to time between device and controller. So I just put the USB memory there, download the information to slave communication to optional 3G. This is interesting maybe in some areas that the user, the manager needs to communicate with the device, but the device is in maybe in a countryside. There is no how to communicate. There is no internet. There is no local Ethernet there. So you just put a SIM card with internet packed and communicate by internet with this optional 3G. What else? Cross-check cloud. There now it's cloud clocking. We'll talk about it later. Attendance status auto switch. This is interesting because you can configure this in the device, and the device can, by the time the user punches the time, for example, let's say we configure it from 6 in the morning until 9 in the morning. I want that all the events between this time range will be counted as a in for my time attendance system. So I can make this kind of configuration with this device, with this function, self-defined status. What else? 3.2 inches HD TFT LCD. In other words, is a colorful LCD with 3.2 inches that it's very interactive with the user. For those that don't have very easy experience with this kind of device, can work a lot, can help. It's a feedback from the device to the user to inform what he needs to do, how he needs to make it. So it's very interesting, and also it's how can I say, it's a function that for time attendance there in Europe you need to provide. So it is important to mention too. 12 volts because it's used as access control too. And I guess most of the information we already told at this catalog. Just some illustrative pictures to tell how we can make it. And if you have any questions, any comments with this device, please let me know. Some comments, suggestions, some difference between catalog and the device. Otherwise, we can continue.
Leo,
yeah.
okay, I will stop the video because I want to make different files.
Okay.
The final video will be very heavy. Okay, let me just 10 seconds.
Let's make a 5 minutes break then, and then we continue with the software solution. If you have a user card in that device, you will not be able to enroll this card again as a enroll card, because if let's say that you have opportunity to open the device with nobody to see there, and you want to reset the device, and you want to add a new card as enroll card. At that time you will lose some seconds, maybe minutes, and you have this knowledge. So this is very, the percentage of this to happen is very small, but still can be. But if you use the same card to add as an enroll, enroll card, you won't be able, because you will also be a user there. So the device will just not store this information. But let's see if you have a new card there and you need to use this new card. If you have both cards, both new cards, enroll and delete card to open, you have the opportunity to open the device, you have the knowledge to make this procedure and do exactly at the same time with nobody watching any other safety system. Well, let's see, you can send a curriculum to Mission Impossible. Yeah, they are, I know, especially here, but we can prevent this to happen. Okay, Ismail, so please
go ahead, my friend.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Thanks.
Let's continue. Well, I guess the second part will be more focused on the software solution. At main time, cross-check the standard. I can tell a quick view of the cloud solution later, but let's focus first on the cross-check the standard. You can see my screen, okay? It's shared correctly with you all. This is
yes.
Okay.
Yes, thanks.
This is the cross-check standard icon. It's already installed in my device, in my laptop, but you can download it directly from Anviz website. There is no much problem with this. Just sign in, put your information, create an account there, login, password, and you'll be able to download and install cross-check the standard. The default password is in blank. I don't need to complete. Admin at username, no information on the password. Just put an OK, and I have my software opened here. Of course, when I install it, I need to put some user information there, at least the name, the email, the country. I suggest to set this information correctly, mainly the email, because inside the software we have a help function that we can send feedback or questions directly to the Anviz system. And when I use this function here, I can send this directly to the Anviz team, and the email that you enrolled before will be the one to the company to reply you with your question. This is more for the users that, let's see, they bought the device at the free market, they don't use it the correctly way, that is a reseller or a distributor to have a support. It happens a lot here. I don't know if it happens a lot in Europe too, but people just buy it on Amazon or eBay and don't have a support to tell them how to use it correctly, and they just go to help function and ask us from here. And from here, if you put the email correctly, we can forward them to the correct technical support team or even the distributor that sold the device. Questions? I guess there is not. Okay, so let's continue. After you install and you put your information, you can just advance, follow all the next steps, because this is what will be kind of a pre-configuration of the system. You can just ignore it just until finish the installing process, and it will open this main screen for you. And here we can do everything we could do at that time, but here with more information, with more calm to analyze all the functions the software can provide. Coming back in the help part, in the help screen here, we also can find the manual of the system. So we click help. As before, we will show the manual of our device. We can download this directly in Anviz website too, but we just can check it inside of the software if we need. And we have other languages too. Of course, we don't have all, but English is the main one, and other Latin, Chinese language can be checked too, just for your reference. If I want to change the language of the software, I have some icons here. Most of people don't see it at first time, but this one is to change language. So we can put in the language we prefer. Let's use English here as general. I'm seeing messages here. I don't think it's from our chat. Let me just quit it. No, I don't think it will be possible. I will not lose time with this. So Ismail, please, if there is a question, help me with this, because I guess other people are calling me in Skype at this moment, and
Don't worry.
The
I'll let you
notification
know.
stays here. All right.
Yeah. Don't worry.
Let's continue. So this is the main screen of the software. Oh, so many buttons. How can I, like an airplane panel, how can I manage my software from here? Don't worry. I suggest always to base the configuration by the options we have on the upper part. So this one is the main one, but we can divide the things by what we want to do. So we want to manage users, we have here. We want to manage devices, we want to manage the records, attendance, and data, and all the others. So of course we will not have time to do everything here. I will focus on the main parts and make some examples with you to clarify some questions, or even promote these questions to be solved. Let's start. Database settings. This is where we can share the database with more than one computer in the same system. For example, I have a company that the manager is in the first floor, but there will be a reception in the down floor, on the 0th floor, let's say like this, that I need both of them synchronized with the same database. I can share this database in a server and look for it on the both computers to reach the same database. In other words, if someone changes information in one side, the other will see it at real time. By default, we use Access Database, the extension MDB, but it's also possible to use SQL Server. For SQL Server, you need the knowledge to make the database. You have to use this knowledge to create and to set the communication between software and the SQL Server. We have some tutorials, but we suggest that this is knowledge that the installer or the manager need to have as previous before set this database. It's more safe, it's faster, it can be used integrated with other systems, but as I told, need knowledge from the developer to make it. Basic parameter, so this is the name says, it's some basic configuration we can set. For example, in the custom field setting, we can add some new information particular from each user. So let's just add a user. I will come back here later, but just to tell you where it will influence. When I add a user, I have custom fields here and some default fields particular per user. I can fill it with the particular information, and I can create new fields exactly here. So let's put, for example, car plate. I don't know. And when I come in the user, come in the custom field, there is car plate here, and I can put this information. And if I need to consult it later, I can just come here and check the information stored, the place I have put this information. Let's come back there. I can clear fields, I can add new fields, I can manage this kind of information from this part. And in the right part is where I make the communication parameters, the port, the TCP/IP port for the devices, for the face path, the communication, the delay time, the maximum time between before the software tells you the communication was not successful. Downloading record is very important. It's used with a certain frequency from the customers because it's where I can set at maximum 5 times per day to download the records of my devices automatically. For example, let's say I have a TC5800 as time attendance in my company, and I don't want to download the records manually. I have other things to do, so I just can connect the device with my TCP/IP network and set here that, for example, every day at 8 in the morning, the device will send the information of these records to my software with no need of make it manually. And after it, at the end of the day, at 6 in the afternoon or 18 in the time range as 24 hours, again, and maybe 11 in the night too. I could use 2 more times to make it at least at maximum 5 times per day to make the download automatically of my reports, of my events, the historical of people that use the device, okay? And I can export this information too as text. Here I will configure this, the length and the format I need. So basically these are the functions here. Attendance perimeter. This is very important, especially for time attendance, okay? So here shift covers today is for me to, for us to set to the device, to the system, to the software. For example, if we have a shift that starts at 8 in the evening and finishes, let's say, at 4 in the morning in the other day. On the report, if I put count as the first day, the day that will appear in my report will be the first. For example, let's say we started today at 8 p.m. and we will finish tomorrow 4 a.m. at the 4th of October. So in my report, we'll tell that this shift will appear at October 3rd. And if I select here, in the shift report, will appear at October 4th. This is the main difference between them. There is no how to put in the report that the shift starts in the 3rd, finishes at the 4th, or 3rd or 4th. Here is where I put it. Question? Okay, let's continue. Weekend, here is where I put the days that are not counted as work days. Here is selling at weekends, but we can say that are days with not labor. In other words, maybe. So depend of the company, depend of the country, depend of the system, and we can set here. So most of times, Saturday and Sunday companies don't work, but some companies, for example, work that Saturday. So I need to quit this for Saturday. Let's see, for example, if I let Saturday and Sunday here, and an employee need to work on Saturday, the employee will work but will be counted as extra time, overtime, okay? So if I want that the employees that work on Saturday are not counted as overtime, I just quit this from this part. But I need to configure the overtime correctly to make it work exactly the way I want. We are going to check this soon, okay? This is just for your reference. You need to have this information very clear. A workday count as. This is like a general information for the software set his rules. Of course, I don't need to put exactly the time here because all the shifts I'm going to put, they are going to have their individual time as a workday. This is a media or a reference for the software. As default, it's 480 minutes. If we divide it by 60 minutes, we have a default of 8 hours per day. We can put more, we can put less. This is up to you. The shortest working time, the last shift I can put. As default comes from 10 minutes, but I can raise it if I want. And the longest work time. This, I guess, is the most important, the longest work time. Especially if I need to configure overtime settings, okay? So let's see, for example, that in the maximum of the cases, an employee can work until 15 hours per day in an emergency, maybe. So 15 hours is a maximum of 900 minutes. If I have here 720 minutes, and the employee works 900, it will just not count as a work day. It will be an invalid register in my report. So this is very important to conciliate, okay? This is a very important field we need to set if we need to set overtime settings in the time attendance solution. Not clock in count as late, not clock out count as early. These are like penalties for the users that forget to punch in or to punch out. You can just mark these fields and discount a default a preset time for him. For example, let's say that the user enters at 8 o'clock, but he entered at 9, but he forgot to put the finger to release the start of his shift at that day. I can just put a penalty of 2 hours here if I want. I don't know if it's used in Europe, in South America, in Latin America, it's not very used, but if I need to use, I can just set it here. This is a very general software, okay? Some functions are not used in many countries. Some countries use some of other functions, so since it's a global company, we try to provide the general functions for all the systems. Of course, we cannot reach 100% local one. For that cases, for that companies that need maybe a local specific software, we count with some developers. We have our SDKs or integrated tools we provide to the customers, and the customers can develop their own software based on their laws, based on the requirements they think they're necessary to provide in his region, maybe. If you guys need, you can talk to me or talk with the support related to the area. They will provide you the tools you need. And here on the down part, it's just to configure how I want these items to be shown at the report. I cannot add, I cannot delete these fields, but I can modify the minutes for days, for hours, for example, overtime. In my final report, I want to see the overtime not as hour, but as minutes to have more details. And the minimum minutes is starts from 1 minute to be showed at the report. We can say, for example, if the employee worked less than 1 hour as extra time in the week, it will not be considered. Needs to be more than this. So I can put minimum of 59 minutes here to be shown at the final report. Just a suggestion, but I can set it the way I want, with the units I want. If I want days, I want minutes, I want hours, and I can round up, round off, round as total here. This is a more detailed information. If you need it, I can share later with you. If I start tell it now, we are going to lose some time, and as we see, the time is short. If you have questions, please let me know. Department settings, this is where I can configure the devices or the areas of my company. I can just put, for example, a new department, the sales department, here. Inside the sales department, I can put maybe biometric, the biometric team, the sales that sells the biometric, I don't know. But I can organize, this is the main point. I can organize my system with these departments, and after, when I enroll the users or I modify the users, I can put them inside the department I want, and then check and come with here in the department I want, and find easier this user. Okay, of course I have the field here to look for it. Put the number of the user, put his name, and search. It will show me too, but maybe for some companies the department configure is more suitable. So we offer this option for this kind of project. Status setting. This is where I configure the kind of status setting, as the word says, in the device screen. As default, it comes with in, out, break, overtime. But if I want, for example, to put a more detailed status type, for example, leave for the lunch, come back from lunch, or coffee break, I can just edit these fields here from the 4th until the 15th and upload to the device. Of course, some devices are limited. Some of the basic devices just support at 8 status setting at total. The most complete, 16, and I can edit and put the information I want in this field. Okay. Leave type is to add, for example, licenses that the specific user has from time to time. Maybe the vacation, maybe a medical license. This is where I add this kind of leave type. So let's put here one as example, medical license. The user stayed sick yesterday, and the doctor told him he will not be able to work tomorrow, and I need to put this information in my software, otherwise the day of that user, that employee, would be discounted at the end of the week, at the end of the month. So with this, I can justify why this worker didn't come to the company. And let's put minimum 1. This is very important. I cannot put a number there is 0 here. It needs to be different from 0. Why? Because this is a number that will be used in the math of the time attendance report. And in that math, maybe need to multiply, need to make some math multiplication. And if we multiplicate any number with 0, it will be 0. So I just suggest you don't use 0 at that moment. Otherwise, it will show you a float point division by 0 error. This used to happen from time to time in the technical support emails, and it's the reason why. Just don't put 0 at this field. The problem will not be shown. Let's put medical license. We can set a color, maybe red, and put a symbol. Medical license. and add. We are going to use this later in the examples, okay? Work code is not very used. I will not explain, I just introduce. If an employee has more than one shift per day and one shift is paid with extra time and the other is not, for example, I can put some work codes for the same user. And then for the first shift he uses the first work code. For the second shift he uses the second work code. You can put this in the screen of the device. I will not configure this now because it's not very used, but if you need to use this, maybe I can prepare a tutorial later for you guys. Holiday list, this is important, and where I can set the days that are national holidays and the company will not work, and if the company work, it will be counted as overtime, for example. Let's say, I don't know, Christmas. It's an international holiday. December 25. 1 day. I can put more than 1 day, but I suggest to put the exactly days to see exactly which days are and which days aren't. But for example, you can put the holiday Christmas as itself can start in 24 and finish in 25 maybe. It will be here at the same way. Shift settings. Here is very important for time attendance configuration. The first one we need to use is the timetable setting. I have a video in my channel I can share with you guys, explain all the details here too, setting a shift, but we can do now as an example to check in the reports later. So let's put, let's create a shift for an example of employee that have to work in the week. Let's see. Step by step will be better to explain this. So let's see, it's the 30 days, I don't know. It starts at 8 in the morning and it will finish at 5 p.m. I suggest to use always 24 time range, okay? Don't use the mid-range because we cannot set what is AM and PM here. So use the 24 range. Begin clock-in time is the time that from this time after the system will recognize as a time attendance register, time attendance event. In this example, it's put as 6 in the morning. So let's say an employee entered 5:30 in the morning and punches the finger there. 5:30 is before the begin clocking time. It will be an invalid register. The system will not count as time attendance. You count just after 6 in the morning. So if I put my finger 6 in the morning plus 1 minute, this system will already count as the start of this shift valid. Okay? If there will be overtime or not, I will set later. The main point is that this register, this event will be counted as valid, okay? And the same for the end clock-in time. So here, as example, is 10 in the morning. If the employee enters at 10, 1 minute, the system will not count as a valid in. So it will be lost the day for this employee. If it will be discounted as a delay of this user or not, we are going to configure later. The main point is that it's the limit to count as a valid record or not to the in, okay? And to the leave, to the out time attendance register, we use this next two fields following the same logic we explained here, all right? Here is the time allowance. Let's see, for example, we put 10 minutes here in the late error. If the employee enters until 8:10, there is the limit here, it will not be discounted as delay. So he is inside the limit, it's okay. Now if he enters 8:11, 1 minute after the delayed error, it will be discounted 11 minutes as delay from this employee, okay? This is the field where I can put this time allowance. And for the early error 2, for the employee to leave before the time. The time to leave is at 5 p.m. If we leave 4:50, it's inside the limit. If we leave 4:49, it will be counted 11 minutes as delay, okay? If there's no questions, all right. Count as workday. This is important too, especially if I have more than one shift per day. Some companies do this. One shift, for example, in the morning, the lunch break, and one shift in the afternoon. The main point is, if I have more than one shift per day, the total between them needs to be 1. In this case, only one shift for my whole day, it's counted as 1. But if there were 2, we could put for the morning shift 0.5, and for the afternoon shift 0.52. Both together need to be 1 to be for my report to get it correctly, okay? And this is the last one, count as working time. This is very important too. This math is made automatically between the on-duty time and the off-duty. They make the math and put in minutes here. Let's see. Minutes, I guess, is 8 hours, huh? 9. In this case, 9 hours. So, this is important for me to set the lunch time if I want. I have 2 options to set the lunch time, the break time for the employee with only one shift in this example. If I want the employees to punch, to leave for the lunch, and to punch to come back from the lunch, I can discount 1 hour from here. Oops, since I lost too many times it lost the configure. But it's very easy to come back, sorry. Let's come back in that function. So if I need my employees to mark in the device, I need to lunch, I will put my fingerprint to register I'm leaving for the lunch, and put the finger to come back from lunch, I can just put 8 hours. If it's the work time of my company, I can discount 60 minutes from here. Sorry, let me explain again. I think it's not very clear. Let's tell with examples. If the employee punches to leave and punches to come back from the lunch, I don't need to set here. I put as it is here. Why? Because the punches to the lunch from these users will be discounted automatically. So let's imagine the employee put the finger at midday to leave and put the finger at 1 o'clock to come back. So it will be a discount of 60 minutes at the total time. So if the total time is 9 hours and we have 1 hour as lunch, the final report will give me 8 hours. Okay? I guess now it's clear, more clear. So I need to have this information in mind. And the other example, just to finish this topic, is that if I don't want my employees to punch the fingers to the lunch break, they will need just to put the finger to enter to start working and put the finger to leave to stop working, then I will discount 60 minutes here. I just put 60, I discount 60 minutes from the total and I put for 800 here. Why? Because I will not discount the fingerprints of that user to leave and come back from lunch. I do it automatically here. We can do some examples later to inform you how to make it correctly. Okay, so let's put it at first option, then we change and check the order. Here down the part must clock in, must clock out. I always suggest to let it mark it because If we don't put it, the device will, the software will not make the math correctly. He will not have a reference where or when the user clocked in to start working and when or where he left the company as the clock out. So my suggestion is always let this market. Free time we don't use, and this over time, so the people make some mistakes here. So this is very important to let it know how to use this tool. This doesn't mean that I am enable overtime settings for the shift. No. This is, for example, if I want to create a shift, there is going to be always an overtime shift. For example, in industry that have a Sunday shift, and the people that work in Sunday shift always will be counted as overtime. So for that Sunday shift, I mark here. If it's a normal shift from the week, from Monday to Friday, for example, this is not the place where I configure it, okay? So I just let it unmarked. So this needs to be very clear to set a system correctly. And then I add this shift. After adding this shift, I can make the chronogram for my employees that are going to use this. So I just configured the shift. Look, what I told from the count as work day. If it would be going to have a morning shift, afternoon shift, this would be where I would configure it. 0,5 to one, 0,5 to the other. Let's come back. So I will create a schedule for my employee based on the shift we already configured. So let's put shift name week. I can put the cycles here and the units here. By default, it comes one cycle and a date. Let's use week in this example. I can change here day, week, month. I can set the way I want. And for example, I can put 2 cycles for the week. In an example that maybe there is a chronogram to be followed that employees work one Saturday, yes, and the other not. So I can put for the first week, Monday to Saturday, and the second week, Monday to Friday. This is interesting. And the other week, the third week, it will repeat at the first week and then becomes a cycle, as the name tells us. In our test, let's just put a default one to tell the features how to make it better, okay? So I will add a timetable here. 30 days is the one that we already configured from Monday to Friday. And I have the shift setting already recorded, okay? And we put end. We already have a chronogram to set for the employees. So we already configured the timetable. We already configured the shift, the chronogram for that timetable. And now we need to put it for the users. Let me see. Yes, we created a user. We can use this as example. So I double click the user I want. I have the option of not schedule. There is for that flexible companies that they don't have how to set a shift correctly. For example, it's the employee that works based on the callings. He will work tomorrow all the day, but the next day there is no job for him, and so he stays at home. He has other things to do for himself, but at Friday, for example, he needs to work again. So it's when I don't have exactly how to know the days he will work, so I just put not scheduled, and I based his time attendance settings by his punches in and punches out from the company. This is another option we can use. I have a video based on this kind of configuration too, and in my channel you can check it later. I will pass you the link to see it. So we have many information. But based in this example we are talking, I will use normal scheduling and the week as shift name. The intelligent scheduling I don't use to suggest very often, but could be used too. It's more complex to explain to tell the details, so let's do the, as I tell here, the basic, the rice and beans. This is very famous in Brazil, but what I want to tell is that is the mean, the basic. Then we can advance it in a better time, in another opportunity. So normal scheduling, use week as shift name, beginning, maybe this month, and we can put maybe the end of the contract of this employee, the end of the year, or the month I want to make it to him. So let's put until the end of the year and add. After adding, I will just save this information and my software will schedule all these cycles, shifts, and timetables for this user. If I want to check if it's correctly or not, I can just check the calendar on the down part of it. I will put all the months, and I can see here which days he will work and which days he won't. This is interesting. Maybe for the employees that works one Saturday yes, one Saturday not, instead the user, the employee, make manually this map, he could just ask his administrative responsible to check in his calendar, in this calendar, when he would work, when he wouldn't. Okay, so we already configured the timetable, the shift setting, and we already scheduled it to a user. Before start with the tests, because we already could start the time attendance test, we need to talk about overtime settings. Okay, this is important too. It's here where we make it, overtime. So these are the main fields, okay? On duty, in this case, 60 minutes earlier clock in count as overtime. So this is the limit for us to put before the clock in hour. So in our example, we put the on duty time as 8 o'clock. If we put 30 minutes here and we enable this function, let's put an example that the employees enter to start working at 7:15. It's before the limit of 30 minutes, so from 7:15 until 8 o'clock will be counted as overtime because we have enabled this function. And the same works for the off duty. After some minutes, the end of the duty to be counted as overtime too. So let's put 60 minutes here as example maybe, and we leave at 5 p.m. but yesterday we left 6:15 for example. 6:15, it's 75 minutes after the limit, so it's more than 60 minutes, will be counted as overtime too. If I don't mark it, there will not be overtime in any reason, any situation to my system, okay? Deduct the off-duty X minute later. Sounds very confused, but I can explain to you. Let's use the 30 minutes as example. It's better. So we leave at 5 p.m. and in this example we left at 6 p.m. It's 30 minutes more than the limit, so of course it will be counted as overtime. We will have 60 minutes, 1 hour as overtime to that day. But if we deduct the off-duty time here, the total time discounts the time that is here. So depending on the country, depending on the laws, it is used. I don't think it's very used here. For in this example, it would discount 30 minutes as the total overtime for that employee. The report would show just 30 minutes as overtime. If I don't use this, as the same example, 1 hour as overtime for this employee, okay? This overtime level is not used. I will not start to talk about this because I will lose too many minutes for a thing that 0.001% of the projects that we use. But this one on the down part, overtime calculation, we use very much. It is the multiplier for the overtime hours for our employees. So overtime 1 is the multiplier for the overtime in the normal days, the common days. In our case, from Monday to Friday, where we schedule the shift, all right? The overtime number 2 is for weekend days or non-labor days. Is where, let me just save this, is where we set here in the weekend screen the days that I mark it as weekend. They will use the overtime 2 as multiplicator. So in some countries, they use to multiply the hours by 100% in the weekends. If someone works 1 hour in the Saturday, it will be counted as 2 hours as total. So this is where I put it for weekends. And overtime number 3 is for the holidays. For the holidays I set in the holiday list. Basic is this. And we just apply later to don't lose this information. Now we can do some time attendance examples. Let's start with some examples. I will do some basic examples because we don't have too much time, but it can be a base for you guys to start testing it. I also suggested, especially the technical guys, to make this test. You don't need a device. You don't need to have a device connected with the software. You can just download the software from the website and make the records manually to check how the software will react. So this is very important. I will show you here. In the main screen, we have a pen record. We can create records manually to check how the software will react. This is kind of an exercise for us to understand better how the system works. So let's put Anviz, use the user we have, the test, and let's set a normal day for him. Let's use the 1st of October. This is the first day, a common day, okay? In 8 o'clock, out 17 p.m. Just this, to see the example. Let's review the shift before checking the records. So we have 8 to 17 and 50-40 as work time. All right. Now let's see in attendance department. Let's check exactly the user we want and the exactly day we want. Here we could be more flexible if we want. We could put all the users at the same time, all the months at the same time, or just a department, just a week period. It's up to the administrator to make it. He can filter the information according to his needs. And then we will check this information. Let's see. Okay, attendance records, normal in, normal out. Of course, it will never happen in a regular company. It's just for example, but to see that the software reacts well to it. And here, scheduling record analysis, we have the information that we want to export the report. So we have the in, the out. What is in yellow color is the default that we had configured before, and in green or light blue, I don't know, is the one that the user have punched at the real time. And we have more information here too. Work long, work time, actual time. Some of these fields maybe are not with the correctly translation. This can happen, and I'm sorry for that, but it's completely understandable. And in report preview, we have some kind of reports that we can use. The most used, in my opinion, is the attendance status total report. That shows me for the user the days he worked, the days he had absence, the late, the early, the total time, if there were work time, overtime, sorry, and the attendance rate. So I can use this report, save it as PDF, or if I want, for example, I can just set the columns that I need. I don't need, for example, all the columns. I need to make a filter, a basic report. I will select the fields I need here and make a preview the report. No, I think it's export data, yeah. I export the data in my screen to an Excel file. Let's make a test here just to show, and have this report in Excel to share with a third-party software or with the accountant, the manager. We have this information here. And we can make maths with Excel. Maybe make the multipliers not directly in the software, but in the Excel table. Let's do some more examples now. So in this case, there were no lunch break, there were no lunch punch in, no lunch punch out. So at the total, 9 hours, okay? But we need to put 1 hour as lunch break for the employee, for example. Let's use the October 2nd to make it. Another thing very interesting, that when we configure the software correctly, we don't need to use the status exactly the way it is in the screen of the device. So once it's very well configured, the software corrects this information to me. Let's make this example now so I can explain you better. So let's say the employee entered at 8 o'clock in the morning, but he didn't notice that in the screen of the device it was shown out. It was an out time attendance status. Let's follow. 8 o'clock to in, but without, and then he will leave for the lunch. The correct would be break at midday, for example, but let's use in. So he just didn't mention that. He just didn't notice, or it was not trained to make it. And he come back lunch with an out at 1 p.m. and left the company at the same day with a break at 5 p.m. This used to happen more in companies. It used to happen when we need to check if the software will reply well according to this.
Have to fire out this user, my friend.
Sorry?
We have to fire out this employer.
It used to happen a lot, man. Believe me. You just put the finger and come in. Just put the finger and come out, and sometimes the device is not showing the correct status. This happens a lot here. But if we have a company that do the correct training to instruct correctly the users, what is very recommended, very suggested, it don't happen. But if it happens, we have how to correct. So look at here. It shows me that is the wrong state in the right side, and the operation shows me the suggestion that would be the correct one. It will not replace automatically because maybe it's not the correct one. The software just informing you, look, this is a in, not out. You want to change, you change manually. This is a break. This is a break too, and this is a leave. So sometimes in the report it's not showing correctly. In this case, I think it will show correctly. But my suggestion is that the administrator review these operations and make the interpretation of it. And if it's everything correct, oh, the software corrects me well. Thank you, cross-check. I love you. I just save the exception, and then it automatically converts to the correct status. So it's a very nice tool that can be explored. And one more thing that is also very interesting is that we have all the historical of changes of the software. What is this? Let me show you here. It's in the operation log, no, in the change log records. Here in data, change log records, I can check all the modifications of logs in my system. So it's like to inform me everything that was modified from a user of the software. So in this case, look, we add some status for tests, we modified some status to correct. So it's a historical of all the things that are in my software. And here, operation log, is where I have the same structure, but for the modifications in configuration of my software. Look here, I add device, I delete user, I added department. This is historical for all my software. Just for reference. Let's come back here where we were before. So we corrected. Now is everything okay? Let's refresh just to check if it's corrected correctly, because sometimes if the person forgets to save the exception, it will just disappear. So we need to change and save as we did now. And in the report, we can check here that will be discounted 60 minutes as break time, as lunch time, and the work time will be 8 hours. So this is the report I would like to have. Well, so far so good. Let's do one more example with overtime now, so I can tell you where to find this overtime and how to make the math of it. And then we start with the access control functions. So let's review the shift from 8 to 17, all right? And the overtime configuration is 30 minutes. Ah, this is interesting, because I will do different overtime for in and for out. Let's do this simulation here. Let's use October 3rd. So to get in, let's put that I started work at 7:35 a.m. This will count as overtime or not? It's a question I make to you guys. You can think about it, and then we'll check in the report later. A break to the lunch. For the break, let's follow the same to get the round one as the total. It will be easy to make the math. And now I will leave the company at maybe 7 p.m. One thing we need to check, from 8 in the morning to 19 in the afternoon, there is 11 hours, 660 minutes. Why I'm doing this? Because of the attendance perimeter. The longest work time, look, needs to be bigger than the time we are using now. Otherwise, we wouldn't be counted as a work day. In this case, it's okay, because it's less than the maximum I have here. That's why this field is so important. Let's come back to the test. Let's use October 3rd and do the analysis. So far so good. In okay, break okay, out okay. Here too. But look, from 7:35 to 8, we have like 25 minutes of extra time. And from 5 to 7 p.m., we have 2 more hours. So the total would be 2 hours and 25 minutes. In my overtime field, it's showing me just 2 hours. Why? Because the configuration we did in the overtime setting. I guess you already know this. That's the question I did to you before. That is, the limit to on-duty is 30 minutes. And we entered 25 minutes before. So if I put here, I don't know, 15 minutes, now that time to the on-duty will be counted as overtime. Let's see. Now we have 2 hours and 25 minutes. So that's where it's very important to configure correctly the overtime settings. Yeah, Dennis, that's it. Just what I just... Muy bien. Let's come back. In the report, we have here the overtime minutes, exactly how we configured. the 60 minutes as break, the overtime here, and I guess that's it. If you guys have questions, you want to explore this information, I invite you guys to make tests, to do the exercises here, to get more knowledge in practical with the system. I don't have too much time to do this with you guys, all the examples we have, but I let you guys free to make this test. But basically these are the fields. What else? I just need to tell you about the time attendance is the leave. The business leave, for example. Remember that we set the leave type, the medical license? So let's apply this for the October 4th, for example. I use the business leave, and I will imagine that the same user had a medical license on the October 4th. He couldn't work October 4th from 8 to 7, that is the shift, because he has a disease. I don't know. And I can put a reason, a comment, maybe a medical license, okay, justified, had the paper, the document justified, and I just added this to my system, that this day he has his license, and this day will not be discounted from the time attendance report. I can also search for all the leaves in my system. For example, the month's closed, so in September I want to get all this all the business leave, all the medical license from the month from all the users, and I just look for it here. Of course, it will not show to me because I don't have it, a clean database, but in a real company, it would be shown exactly all the reports, all the leaves in this report, and I could also export this information if I want. I guess that's it. Let's just see in the 4th of October how it would be in my report. Of course, there is no record, but in the analysis, there is a field that will tell me medical license. Will not be in, will not be out, but will not be also absent for this user, for this employee. There is no work time, but the important is that there is no absent. Here will not discount nothing for this user because of this medical license that was justified. This is the same field we use for when an employee needs to travel, to trip, make a business trip, stay 1 week out, or vacation, for example. That's the point where we use to configure. And I guess from time attendance, these are the main fields we need to know, we need to configure. Now the time attendance is done. We can start with the access control. If you guys have questions after the time attendance, please let me know. I will drink some water just to refresh my throat, and we start with the access control in the sequence, okay?
Thank you, Leo. At the moment, everything okay.
Okay. Just refresh a little bit. Well, so let's follow with the access control features. Here, I guess we use more the device screen, where we can add, we can delete, we can modify device. I have a device here close to me, a P7. I use him as a test to make it. Just plug my USB here now. Maybe you will listen it. And I will add this device at my screen. So I will use add here. It will open a window on the left part of my software where I will configure the information for this device. No questions? Okay. If I had this device in my TCP network and the device had the same TCP IP port that my software has, when I do search here, he would appear automatically here in my software. Since I'm using the USB function, it will not be shown here now. Device type, if I want to use a fingerprint card or the FacePass 7 or the FacePass Pro device, in our case is the fingerprint one. Device number, device ID. I suggest to use always the same number for both of these functions. One is to refer the device ID in the hardware, one is to refer the device ID in the software. To be a very well communication, I suggest to use the same. So as default, it comes with 1. Let's see, I have a device and I don't know which ID this device is, and I want to communicate with him. Well, I can use USB communication and let device ID as 0. Device ID 0 is universal. In other words, don't matter which device ID is in the hardware of the device. When I set 0 here, if I have only one device in my software, it will communicate correctly. Just if I have only one. If I have more, can have some conflict. Device name, test. Device group, it's if I want to organize the devices according to the groups I have here. I have from group 1 to group 5. I can organize, for example, all the devices in the first floor as group 1, all the devices in the second floor as group 2, I don't know. But as default, it comes with group 1. Any device groups can show me all of them. The device is rebooting here. I think it's some bad context. Okay. Let's follow. Time attendance status. Real status, on duty, off duty. This is important. Maybe for a company that has 2 devices, one always records in status and the other always records leave or off status, off duty. So the first one I could put as on duty. No matter which time attendance status is in the screen, he would always record as on duty time attendance. And the other in the other side of the door would record always as off duty time attendance. If I have only one, I can use a real status. I will respect the status is used in the screen of my device. Device flag is used in a system that I have access control and time attendance in the same software. So I don't want to mix this information. Sometimes the access control can mix the information and appears as a time attendance record, which can confuse my reports. So if I don't want this to happen, when I have an access control device, I just put access control. When I have a time attendance device, when I will add this device, I put just time attendance device. Or if I have only one that do the both, time attendance and access control. In this case, it's just access control. And then the communication method we are going to use. In this case, USB, because I'm using USB communication. So I just communicated it again, and we'll add a new device. All users have permission. Since it's a test, yes, no problem. Well, look, the icon changed to blue. This means that the device is already communicating, or at least it received information from the device to the software. If I really want to know if it's connected or not, I can click with the right button of my mouse and check the device information. Maybe look here, it's going to show me the basic information of this device, how much users I have, how many templates, how many records, firmware version, device serial number, so the basic information from this device. Another valid test too is to synchronize time. When I synchronize time, it will copy the time in my computer to the screen of my device, and if it's successful, the device will stays blue, keep blue, and show the time at the screen of it as I told. Basically, this is how to communicate device. I can set the IP configuration from here, especially for a T5 Pro, for example, IP address, default gateway, subnet mask, IP ports, work mode. this is important to tell that server mode, all the softwares, all their computers in my network can communicate with this device. But if I put client, only one computer in my local network will be able to communicate with the same device, and this computer will be the one that has this IP set in his machine. There is the field server IP address. So the unique device, the unique computer that can communicate with this device will be the one that has this IP. In our test, let's put server. And since I don't change nothing, I will just cancel this. It's just to tell you, here is where I set the IP, and it's used mainly for C5 Pro, M3, M5, how to set IP in devices that there is not a display, there is not a screen to interact with the product, okay? Open door via software. This is, for example, for a reception. We can do it by here or making a double click in the device. It will just release the relay and send a contact to the lock to open. Can work well for receptions, for monitoring areas that need to open remotely the door. It's here where we use this function. And one mailing function too is the device parameter. When I open this screen, this new window, these are the main features of the communication from this device. Most of these functions can be accessed in the menu of this device too. So when I access the menu configuration, I have most of them. For the devices that don't have menu, this is where I can configure. For example, change the relay time. It's electrical lock just needs a push to open the door. 1 second is more than enough. It's here where I change. The winged mode, for example, to work with SC011, our Anviz controller, we use Anviz Wigan to make this communication. This is where I change it. The daily format, I can use days, months, years, months, days, years. It's here where I change, and also other functions that you can check it one by one when we have more time. But it's just to inform you that this is where I change it. Also, here is where I put my device by default, factory default. This function, initialize terminal device, I use it to make a hard reset in my device. I will eliminate all the users, all the fingerprints, all the events, all the configuration that was set before. And if I just want to clear my records, I just want to open my memory again for new records, I just clear the attendance records right here. So that's it. Well, here we have some more important buttons. For example, download all records. This will download all the widgets, all the events from the memory of my device manually, because if I wanted to do automatically, I could use I guess it's the basic parameter and set the days here. But if I want to do it manually, that's where we do it. Download all records. And once we did all the records with this function, we will use in the next times download new records. Why? Imagine a company that has maybe 50,000 records in the memory of the device, and I just want to record the historical of last week. If I put all records, it will take a lot of time to download everything, and I already have this information in my database. So download new records will be okay for me. It will download since the last time I had downloaded it before. Backup users, change users from the memory of the device to my software, and resume user is the opposite. So the users that are in my software goes to the memory of my device. we can do this in practical in the next, in the users field, I guess. Activate real time. Let's see if I can show this for you guys. I don't know if by USB it works fine, but I think it works very nice. It's a real-time function. Let me configure it by day and time. Okay, here. If I put my finger, the devices, when recognize it, it will show a new field here from the time, the date, the user, which identification. If I have a picture for this user, it would show me here. So it's an interesting function to use in receptions, in concerts maybe, but needs to be used carefully because the devices stay connected all the time. So the network is always working with data traffic. So if we have many devices in the network, cannot be only access control devices, but computers, cell phones in the same network, it might slow, get some more traffic in the network and can be some inconvenience depending on the case. But if it's a dedicated network only for the control, access control, only for time attendance, can be an important function to be used. In the right part is where we manage the USB information for the devices that we put a pen drive, a USB memory, download records, download users, upload users. There is where we make it. So let's go to the user part. I want to show you an interesting function here. I will add a new user because this one is with ID number 1. Or let's do better. I will just put my device as default and use the same user because in my device I already have a user with ID number 1. So I will initialize terminal to release all the users that is there now. And if I come here in device information, everything's clear. Alright, now I can use it correctly. So let's use the same user, test user. Let's put my name, use myself as example. I can put a picture for each user if I want. I could use the webcam, but my webcam is not working very nice, so I will use a picture as default. I already have a picture here. Oh well, yeah, we have a model here, huh? This is not the first time I do, of course, so it's prepared. So we can set the part of the picture we want. We can make zoom in, make zoom out, just to set the part we want, and then cut down and save. And we have a picture for the user. And here is where we do the time attendance configuration particular for each user. If it's a default system, I suggest don't modify here. But for example, it's an employee that there is not a schedule for him. You can use the not schedule option. You can set here or later, and to that kind of flexible time attendance solution that the employee doesn't know when he is going to work next. So there is no how to make a plan, a shift for him. So we would use not scheduling. In this case, let's let as normal scheduling because we already have a shift for this employee. There is the option, there is the reason why I cannot even change this information here. This user number 1 is the same that we have in the example, and we can change this information. Let's save, just to store this information. And if I want, for some devices, I can even use the reader to record the fingerprint. For example, I use here network. I will use the same device to enroll my fingerprint. So the device is showing to me, put your finger. I put my finger, and I will put my finger again. Unfortunately, you can't see this, but you will check in the software that the enrollment is successful. I just used a device to record remotely a fingerprint. Some devices have these functions, not all, but you can test here later and check this in your site. In this case, I'm using a P7. P7 has this function. And when I save it, it gives me the option to upload templates to the device. In my case, I will not make it because I want to tell you how to make it, explaining this function. But after storing this information, I can see that fingerprint number 1 is already marked in with a green box. It's in the green color because it shows that this user already has a template stored. But look, my device is still 0. I just used the device remotely and temporarily to enroll fingerprint direct in my database. This is what the UBio device do as default. But if I don't have a UBio reader to make it, I can use other device, like in this case. And to pass this user to the device, I just put set privilege and follow and put the device I want this user to be transferred. Set privilege 1, okay. Complete to check in his memory. The user and the template is already here. Let me test. Yes, my device is already reading my fingerprint. Let me share this with you so you guys can see it from your side. I will activate real time again and we'll put my fingerprint. 11:41, 53 seconds. Now, this was the previous one. My picture, very handsome here. Thank you. My name, the date of the access, the department, the identification, all these information are here. And if I open the door or not, sometimes I can just put the user as group 0 if he doesn't have permission to open door, just for time attendance. And for user group 2 to 16 is where I can set specific times for the access. For example, group number 2 will be able to access from Monday to Friday from 8 to 5 p.m. Let me show you where I can make it. It's in access control. Here we have 3 fields that we use. Time period, where I create a time period, as we said, for example, weekly. We could put from Monday 8 in the morning until 17 p.m. From Monday to Friday, we would fill this information, apply. After it, in access group, we would create the group between 2 and 16, which group we would like to add the time period. Let's just apply to show you, otherwise it will not be able to do here. So group name, week, and time period, weekly. I could put until 4 time periods per group here. For example, a group that enters at 8 leaves at 10. And from 10 to midday they cannot access. But after midday until 4 in the afternoon, they can enter again. So in the time period number 2, I would put the second time period I would have create here. So just to inform you, we have 4 ranges per group to fill. And after configuring the time period, setting the time period to the groups that goes from 2 to 16, I would just match this information from the users and device and update access to setting device. I have a video showing this, how to make it too. If you want a detailed tutorial with tests, it's in my YouTube channel. I will send you the link later after the training. Let's come back here. So we were talking about set privilege. This is where I set for my user which devices in my field, in my system, I would like to give permission for this user. For example, let's imagine that we had 5 devices in this area, but this user would be able just to access the first one. I would have more devices here in group 1 or maybe in the other groups, but I would just select this device and okay, the software would send this information to all the devices this user would have permission. Basically, I guess that's it for access control. I could export, import information. This is important to tell too because this is where we can get information from other companies, from other systems. So we could, for example, export this one as example, just to tell you the table Anviz. Let me just make example with you guys so you will understand better. I have a table that I will bring users from other devices, from other companies for this table. So I can fill it manually or I can just copy from an Excel file from the other company and paste it here. What I just need to follow and respect is the columns correctly. I can't change the columns, otherwise it will not work. So let's imagine I am bringing a user from another company. I can also put his card, his name, that. But the only thing I cannot bring is the fingerprint, depending on the company, of course, because if it's an Anviz system, I can bring. If it's other company that is not Anviz, the fingerprint templates are different technologies, so I would need to enroll the fingerprint again. But everything that is text, the data from the user, particular information, ID, cards, this could also be filled. This could all be filled in the Excel file, which is much easier. Just to give example. Okay, let's save. And now we are going to import this table to the software just to tell you it really works. I will import table Anviz. He will also tell me that same ID was found. The number 1 ID already is in my software. So I have the option to replace, to overwrite, or not. In this case, I will not, because it's the same, would be the same too. But if I come here, I will see that number 2 user is here. It was imported successfully. Right? Well, just to finish then, I guess, as last part, we have the data options. We already explained the operation log, the change log records. We can clear obsolete data after making a backup. Of course, we have a button here to make a backup of the database. If I just make a backup with MDB database, it will store in the directory of my software a MDB file with the year, month, and day where and when this database was recorded. So if I open the file location and come in the DB directory, I have my database, and in the backup, I have the backup I just made now. These are old backups I have for tests, but this one is the one I just make it right now. Alright, so this is very important to pass to the customer that from time to time make a backup. This is important in case something happens, the device is broken or the computer is damaged. If you have a backup, things are much easier to restore. Export, import, we already saw. These two, the append record, the simulation, always on business too. Well, guys, I guess that we have introduced most of the functions of the software. Of course, we cannot talk one by one and make all the examples possible here, but I guess it was very productive. We could explore the main functions, make some tests. If you have questions, please let me know. I guess we are just in time of the plans. Thanks God, everything works fine. And we are now open to questions, to suggestions, to comments. Please feel free to tell me if you guys need any extra support. All right. I will wait just a few more seconds or minutes. If we don't have,
I think everything is okay, my friend. At least it's our time to go home. Everything was perfectly explained. We have the videos. And yeah, I don't want to let my people explode their minds, but I
yeah,
will
too many
stop recording